Okay, so here we have the Apeks MTX-RC regulator. So this is a cold water regulator. It's kind of bigger, older brother, was specifically designed for the military and especially for cold water diving. So this is a very tough regulator. It has heat sinks all over it. So if you're diving in cold waters and if you're diving in really sort of rugged terrain and you want a really tough regulator, this is definitely worth looking at. So to take a closer look, first of all, we're going to take a look at the first stage. So the first stage itself, this is a 5-port swivel turret first stage. And what that means is you have 4 low pressure ports on a swiveling turret. So that just makes hose routing much easier. There's less kind of tension on these hoses because that naturally sort of moves as you sort of pull on that hose. So it means your hoses are going to last a bit longer. Underneath this rubber cap here, you also have a 5th low pressure port, so you can have another low pressure hose, so you can put your regulator on the end of that, you can put a BCD hose, whatever you want. So that just means that you have a greater freedom of sort of hose routing for whatever you're using it for, whether it's single cylinders, a stage cylinder, or even on twins. You've got 2 high pressure ports coming out of either side, and these are slightly angled, which means when you're diving it on a stage cylinder or twin cylinders, it means that your high pressure hose just naturally goes around the shoulders again, so it's sort of putting less tension on that hose. As you can see here, it has heat sinks all the way sort of down the body of the first stage, and this is all sort of helping to prevent it from freezing up, because first stages, when you breathe from it in really cold water, ice starts to form, and this is going to prevent that. That, as well as this end cap, is protecting it from a lot of sort of bumps and scrapes, but it also prevents ice from sort of forming over that first stage.
Now, let's look at the second stage. Now, as Mark already said, this actually was the evolution of the MTX-R, which came from their military version regulator, the MTX. Now, when they brought out the MTX-R, there was a big deal made about the fact that it didn't actually have any controls. So there was no Venturi control and there was no cracking resistance control. It just worked perfectly out of the box. However, they soon found that many people actually like to have these features. Whether they use them or not is regardless, but they like to have that feature. Hence, the MTX-RC came out. So as we said, it's got a nice big Venturi lever. Even if you're wearing dry gloves or thick wet gloves, this is nice and easy to move. The same with the cracking resistance control for how much inhalation effort you need to get the air going. This is nice and large, again, easy to use regardless of the exposure protection on your hands. The other thing that I've always particularly liked about Apeks Regs is this Comfort Bite mouthpiece. I find this one of the most comfortable mouthpieces on the market. It just seems to fit nicely into your mouth, and there isn't any jaw fatigue, even if you've been using it for a long time. The other thing that this has got, like many other regs in the Apeks range, is it's got a usable changeable exhaust. So you can have either this one, which is the full-size exhaust, or you can have a smaller one. I prefer the full-size exhaust. When you're using it, it does get the bubbles when you exhale either side of your face, well away from your mask. No problems on that front. It's got a nice big purge on the front, which is quite sensitive, does the job when you need it to, and also the swivel on this is nice and relaxed. It's not a tight swivel, and there's also one at the other end here on the first stage, which was something that was brought over from their Black Sapphire 40th anniversary special, which was all to aid with the lack of pull when you're using it, which with the braided hose definitely makes it a very comfortable reg to use.
And then we move on to the Octo. So the Octo is very much the same as the primary, it's just in the bright yellow configuration. It still has the Venturi adjustment, which is going to prevent it from free flowing, especially on the surface. When you first jump in, it's going to interrupt that free flow, but it doesn't have that breathing adjustment knob on the end because it's just your Octo, it's your sort of alternate. But other than that, it's very similar in its styling. It still has that metal front, which makes it nice and strong. It also acts as a bit of a heat sink. It doesn't have the Comfort Bite mouthpiece, but it's similar in size. But the only difference is it doesn't have that bridge that goes sort of on the top of the roof of your mouth. And this one also has the smaller, more compact exhaust tee compared to that primary. So it's a bit smaller and a little bit neater. Okay, so that's the Apeks MTX-RC regulator, a double tough regulator, which is very sort of flexible no matter what hose routing you want, specifically designed for really cold water and really sort of tough environments. So if that's what you're looking for in a regulator, these are definitely worth a look. Don't forget to visit mikesdivestore.com for a full range of regulators.
And remember, if you've enjoyed this video, subscribe to our channel, ring that bell, you'll never miss out on any future installments. Now, for other things that we're doing, if you check out this link here, it's some of the scuba basics, the real fundamentals of diving to help you become a better diver. And if you check this one, that's some of the more advanced levels for as you're progressing through the channel.
See you next time. Bye.